Hi, Paris.
Hello.
How are you?
How you doing?
Good.
So
Good.
good.
All right, so let's just get started because we only got 5 minutes.
Come on, girl.
Um, so this question is really for both of you, but I'll just start with Ryan. So there's such an interesting dialogue going on between your characters. And while like all three couples had a lot to digest, I felt like I was really deeply invested in your guys' conversation. You guys covered like privilege, race, forgiveness, redemption, like so many deep and uncomfortable topics. And but there's also so many gems, and I had a lot of like, I never thought of it like that moment. So were there
Mhm.
anything that stuck out to you that you were thinking like, yeah, I need to revisit this perspective?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. Within the dialogue, there are things that resonate on a level that make you kind of look at things from a different perspective. But personally, separate from my work in this as an actor, I like when things are uncomfortable, man. I think that more people need to explore those aspects of life and about the realities of existence. And so I think that the more awkward things are sometimes, the more appealing they are to me, which I know is not everyone's like normal reaction, but I like to push buttons. I like, the fact that these characters are exploring things that are difficult to talk about, that are uncomfortable for each of them in different ways. And I think there's a lot of people that need to acknowledge and be made aware of what their past has allowed them to have or afforded them. And this guy is much in denial of that until he sits down and has this blind date.
Kat, same thing for you. Was just there anything that like stuck out to you in the dialogue, not only with you two, but just in general?
Oh yeah, I was totally connected to the character. I'm playing uh, a biracial woman. I've had my own experiences. I come from a West African father and a white mom, and have had my own um, pretty well documented experiences dealing with racism in the industry. So I definitely wanted to play a character who had her own journey. You see Ryan's character having his own journey and finding his truth, and my character also had her own. I think every character in the script eventually gets to their most raw selves, and that's something that I really like. Similar to Ryan, I like uncomfortable conversations. I like being like, yeah, well, I've dealt with racism and this is how I got through my anger and my therapy. And that's why I'm so intense, is because I deal with so much of stuff that I have to forgive. So I love all the uncomfortable stuff. I think that's what makes an artist great, is saying something and being about something. And I'm proud of the work we did in this. I thought the script was really great.
I did too. I was really engaged. But what I also liked about Collide was no character was truly innocent, but no one was really guilty either. At least I didn't feel like
Right.
any of them were really guilty. Do you think viewers will be picking a side, or is it just too much gray? Oh, Ryan.
Well, I mean, listen, something I brought up in interviews when we've talked about this movie is that no one gets to choose what they're born into. It's about who you are from that point forward. Whether it's from a place of privilege or whether it's a place of like destitute, like, we kind of all have to take responsibility for ourselves, separate from who we're born to or whatever. And like, that's an interesting place to consider and to come from. And I think that that's one of the things that drew me to this part, is like kind of like, who are you? Like if your parents done something that you're not proud of, but you were born to them, how do you carry that on? What do you make from that? Like how do you try to make peace with the rest of the world in that regard is an interesting dynamic to me.
I thought so too. That's why it was uncomfortable because I was like, I thought I knew who to be angry at, and then I was like, oh,
Right.
but It's so hard. So I really love the conversations and the thoughts that this movie brings up. All right, well, that is all my time. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Paris.
Bye. All right, hello, how are you guys?
Hi.
Good.
All right, so let's just get started. I'm gonna start with you, Jim, because this role was different to see you in, but not completely new to you, but still different. But it's always like a little like when you see comedians tackle drama. So like, how did this opportunity come up?
Well, over the past couple of years, I've been doing a bunch of indies and dramatic roles. And so I was sent this script by Mukunda, and I loved the character. I loved the challenge of finding this character of Peter, a version of him in myself. And so I was all on board. I was really excited by the opportunity. It was also, I don't know where we were in the pandemic, but it was really exciting to get the opportunity to work on a film. So I was all in, and I liked the fact that there was different storylines and that they were kind of overlapping, and it was great.
Yeah, I love that part too, like how it all connected. And now, Drea, your roles, I feel like you're always in these like powerhouse, strong women roles. And especially after The Sopranos, I think people just think that is you, that is your personality. And is it true? Do these characters represent you, or do you feel like they can be further from who you are?
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people think that I play a tough guy all the time, but if you really look at what I'm doing, I'm actually playing the victim all the time. I would say that this year, all the projects I've done have been me not playing the victim for the first time. The couple of little indie films that are coming out, I do play more of a powerhouse. But in this role, I think that I probably was a victim at one point. Otherwise, I to throw away your marriage, to have a midlife crisis the way she's going through it all, I think that there has to be an unhappiness, a sadness, all of that sort of stuff. And I've been saying with the backstory with Peter and I probably was that I was a pretty broken younger person. And now I'm just sort of stepping out into this world of unsafety and seeing where it goes, sort of thing.
Yeah, I was telling Ryan and Kat that it's hard because in this film, there's like no one's actually really the innocent one, and no one's really guilty either. It's really hard to pick a side. There's so much gray in the film.
Peter's pretty innocent.
Who is pretty? Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because he's going through it in the film. Like that's what I was.
No, I mean,
like,
there is something about like Peter, because I had to think about it so much. It's like Peter is, he's in charge of his own life, and so like, can he get himself out of this? Because I mean, the stuff that happens to him is, I mean, obviously you end up defending your character, but having some distance from it, it's like, he's responsible for some of his victimhood.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I mean, that's how I feel about it, because I was obviously very on his team, but then I was like, well, what about accountability? Like at some point you got to take charge of your life. So it's hard though. It's really hard, which I love about this film. But I was gonna ask, you kind of already said it, what attracted you about your characters? Both, either.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I would just reiterate that there's, I mean, I like to think there's a lot of voices in my head, and so there is, I know that I personally would have handled things differently, but I love the challenge of justifying Peter's path through this, which is pretty it's pretty foreign to me, but it was something, I like the challenge of it.
For me, I would say that I identify with the fact that the character is probably going through a midlife crisis, which is, because I'm 50, so I'm right there with her. I think I was drawn to the other characters. I was really drawn to Peter's character. I just love the way Mukunda tells this story and how everything just comes together in this one location. And all the characters are fantastic going through their own stuff.
Well, that is all my time. I really, really enjoyed the film. So thank you both so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate it.